Bay Buccaneers from the 48-yard line. Second down, 13. Brady lobs one downfield. Caught ball by Gronkowski inside the 20 to the 15-10. Gronkowski to the 5 to the 4-yard line. Holy guacamole.
Third down, 18. Dropping Gannon, looking Gannon. Throws up the middle. It's intercepted at the 40. Derek Brooks 30. Brooks to the 25, 20. Derek Brooks all the way. There it is. The dagger's in. Yeah. We're going to win the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl, baby!
This is the Big Nasty. Yeah, Big Nasty. Hall of Fame Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, baby.
This is Mike Allstott, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're listening to the Cannon Fire Podcast.
Cannon Fire Podcast, brother. You ain't listening, and you're missing out. Woo!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Back at you today for episode 185. We are live on YouTube. And we'll be honest, it's been a while. It's been almost a month since we last talked to you. The last time we talked, the schedule had just come out, and we went over mandatory minicamp, which, you know, there were some highs and lows there. But again, in the grand scheme of things, here we are 4 weeks later, and there haven't been nearly as many developments as, you know, you could have asked for. So safe to say it's a slow time. But as the title of this show indicates, it has been fairly busy for the rest of Tampa Bay, as the Tampa Bay Lightning have won their second straight Stanley Cup. So while the Bucks have not had a whole lot going on, the Lightning are carrying the torch, keeping Tampa Bay on the map, and they keep Stanley in the Bay for the second year in a row. They beat Montreal 4-1 in that series. And I got to tell you, not just for the Lightning, not just for the Bucks, but for the entire city of Tampa, I can't remember the last time that expectations were this high for just all of the sports here. It is a fever down here in Tampa, and no doubt is contagious, man.
Yeah, it's pretty cool when, you know, these types of circumstances always seem to line up every now and then. It's rare to have really your major sports teams all competitive at once, but not just competitive, but like championship level and like winning championships. It's not that, you know, necessarily, you know, that obviously the Rays didn't win, but they got there, right? The Bucks won, and then the Rays just won back to back. You know how hard it is to win back to back championships, like, you know, and that's why, like, yeah, the Bucks are gonna try, but it's difficult to win back to back titles. And the Lightning did it. Let's see if the Bucks can do it. Let's see how the Rays season turns out. I think the Rays will, you know, they'll be in the playoffs, so who knows what happens there. It is quite amazing, the turnaround, kind of. You look at, you know, Detroit in the late 90s. You always look at Boston all those years with the Red Sox, the Bruins, the Patriots and stuff. And I mean, and the Celtics, they won a title or two there as well. But yeah, to Tampa right now seems to be the place to be. And while I can't speak on how the city actually is feeling right now, because obviously I'm not there, but seems to be the best vibes. So
and the way that, you know, the history records show, this is a proven fact. This isn't, you know, just sports fans getting really excited here. It goes to show that wherever Tom Brady plays, there is typically an influx of sports success. So I don't know, you know, if we can chalk it up 100% to the Brady effect, things for the Lightning coming together at just the right time. What a way to bounce back from that first round sweep that they had just a couple of years ago, to go out and win the whole damn thing 2 times in a row. Does it have anything to do with Brady and Tampa? I don't know. Listen, I don't know. But
I mean, well, Tom Brady wasn't in town. The Lightning got swept, and he came to town. The Lightning haven't lost the playoff series since. So.
Yeah. But the million-dollar question then becomes, you know, how does all of this success for all these other teams, how does it relate to the Bucks? Because when we look at the success of Tampa, it's not just one team. It's every team, like you had mentioned, that's competitive at one time. So with the Lightning getting it done, obviously the Bucks were able to get it done in historical fashion, the first ever home team in a Super Bowl, and that's pretty great. But obviously with a team that just got better, you just brought everybody back, expectations are higher than they have probably ever been for any Bucks football team ever. What kind of pressure does that put on Tampa Bay, the football team? if any? Like, is it kind of dumb to talk about something like that putting pressure on another team to do better, or is it a legitimate thing where a city has a couple of successful runs and it starts to be a contagious feeling and spreads around to these other teams?
I think there is a pressure there. I think it's more of like a friendly pressure kind of.
Right, yeah. Nobody's
like
going to burn the stadium down if they don't win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but I mean, well, they might if they go like 4-13 or something.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
And completely miss the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, neither team. It's almost like the Lightning, like the pressure was on the Lightning because the Lightning won the cup, and then the pressure wasn't really on the Bucks that much. Everybody was like, "Oh, can the Bucks do it?" The pressure was a little bit on the Rays, but not really. But then the Bucks won the Super Bowl, and everybody said, "Okay, well, can the Lightning go back to back?" The Lightning went back to back, so now the pressure has shifted back to the Bucks essentially, and now the Bucks are like, "Okay, well, they went back to back, so now we got to go back to back." So there is a little bit of an internal pressure there, I'm sure, to do it. Especially the circumstances. The Lightning now, they were able to win in Tampa. The Bucks won in Tampa. 3 boat parades in less than a year now. Right?
Oh, so, hell yeah, buddy.
I mean, it's you could be looking at within a year's span, you're having 4 or potentially 5. What happens with the Rays? Boat parades, and that's pretty incredible. And it's not going to be the end of the world. Only one team wins a championship at the end of the day, right? There's 30, 31, 32 teams in each league, whatever. Only one team's coming out on top, right? And not every year that can be your team. It just can't. So, yeah, if the Bucks don't win the Super Bowl, it's not a failure, but the Bucks also, you don't want to be the team that ends the good vibes, you know? Everybody's just winning. And I mean, Tampa people, like, imagine just starting to get into sports right now in Tampa. You are so spoiled. You are so spoiled because the Bucks have been terrible for years. The Lightning were always a team that they made the playoffs, but they were never able to really get it done. And then they had the huge embarrassment, right, of being the President's Trophy winner and then just first round, not even the conference final or Stanley Cup final. First round, they got swept. I mean, and then after that, they haven't lost the playoff series. So just imagine starting to get into Tampa Bay sports now, like the Rays. The Rays were a team that after they lost in 2008, go Phils, after they lost in 2008, they didn't really make it back. And I mean, they were competitive to some degree, but like, man, they have it spoiled right now. I mean, just like I said, so yeah, I mean, Rock813 in the chat says, "I'll cry if they get knocked off." I mean, yeah, it's not going to be a great feeling, but at the end of the day, what team's going to end it? Because some teams got to end it, right? And there was some years, and like we mentioned Boston, and when Tom Brady, it's apparently it's like a chart where wherever Tom Brady lives, it's not where he plays, it's where he lives.
Yeah. San Francisco back in the day.
He won all them things. Yeah, the Raiders won a few titles back then when he was living in California. So, it's at the end of the day, like I said, one team can win a championship. Very fortunate that right now you're in a rare spot and just cherish every minute of it. I know we said it a bunch about the Super Bowl win, but who knows what could happen? That could be the Lightning's last cup for 20 years. This could be the Bucks' last Super Bowl for another 30 years. Who knows? So just cherish these moments because it's special and it's rare.
Yeah, and I mean, when you come to Tampa, outside of town, there's all these signs that say City of Champions that were put there in 2004 when the Bucks had their Super Bowl, and then the Lightning won their first Stanley Cup in 2004. Tampa Bay Storm had won an Arena Bowl, right? So we were riding high. But I cannot remember the last time that this championship mentality has really lifted an entire city like it has Tampa this past, year and a half, I guess, since Brady came to town. But to get a nickname like Champa Bay, obviously you have to play up to some pretty high standards, and safe to say those standards and expectations are at an all-time high for every single team in the Bay Area. Of course, the Lightning celebrating their second straight Stanley Cup victory. Hell yeah, man. How about Pat Maroon getting done 3 times in a row? Once with St. Louis, twice with Tampa Bay. The Big Rig is probably my favorite highlight from all of these Stanley Cup parties, man. He's quite a character.
It's pretty good, cool, and he scored that big goal. And I know the Lightning lost the game, but he scored that big goal in Game 4.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, he's a fun player. I know like a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, you're a Flyers fan, but how well do you know the Lightning? Look, I follow hockey. Like I'm just, I played hockey. I followed hockey, so like I know a good, and especially with the Lightning, like
So
because honestly,
as far as
go
like
ahead.
your personal interest goes and where you rank how closely you follow them, would you put, I know football's your number one, but number two, would it be hockey or baseball? Because I know those are pretty close.
Hockey,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
baseball number three or basketball three?
basketball three.
There you go.
Yeah, basketball three, but like with basketball and like hockey, I can watch two teams that aren't the Flyers play. Like I can watch two teams that aren't I watched a lot of the playoffs and the Flyers weren't in them. But like basketball and baseball, if the Phillies or Sixers aren't in it, I struggle to watch it a little bit. Like I'll have it, especially baseball. Like baseball, if the Phillies aren't playing, I probably won't be watching, unless like something like Unreal's happening or something. Um, but basketball, like I've watched a little bit of the finals. With how the Sixer season ended, I'm like over basketball right now. So like I needed a break from basketball, but I would say it goes football, hockey, basketball, baseball for me. But I mean, they're all the gap between football and hockey's it's closer than some would expect.
Right.
But then there's a little bit of a gap between hockey and basketball.
Yeah. I follow basketball. I don't watch it. I like following a lot of the storylines. You know what I mean? Some of the teams that are coming together the way that they have. I remember watching Phoenix have that incredible run in the bubble last year where they didn't lose a damn game. And the timing of everything happening this year. You got a Suns and Bucks finals. I know we mentioned it here on the show before, but a little while ago, we had a good member of the Bucks family, Russell Jackson, passed away.
Oh, it was yeah. Well, technically, okay, yeah, Bucks.
And Russ, he was a diehard Bucks fan who got to see his team win a Super Bowl for the first time in close to 20 years. And he was a diehard.
We're talking about the Tampa Bay Bucks right here. We're talking about the Tampa Bay Bucks. Right
yeah, I'm sorry, but our buddy Russ is a diehard Bucks fan. He got to see his team win a title. He unfortunately passed away. But if the Suns can get it done, man, that's just, the sports movies, they kind of write themselves with stuff like that. But I'm really pulling for the Suns because I know Russ was a very big fan. We got a question here in the chat from our guy Steve G, and it has to do with those fans that we talked about earlier here in Tampa Bay. Question for you both. Do the Brady bandwagon fans that have come over to support the Bucks because of you piss you off, or are they welcome? I think we've said this before, but I'll say it again. Tampa Bay Buccaneers season tickets sold out in 5 minutes. The announcement of Tom Brady to Tampa last year before COVID shut games down, season tickets were sold out for the first time in a very, very long time. So while they might be annoying to some, at the end of the day, if I have more Bucks fans in the stadium than I do visiting fans, that's where it's important. And the fact that season tickets sold out this year, I have a feeling the split between Tampa fans, Brady fans, and any other visiting fan is going to be a lot smaller than it ever has been.
Absolutely.
So I will welcome them, and I will appreciate their service while they are here, because as long as Ray J is rocking and the Bucks are winning games, they are more than welcome in my book. Especially because I don't know anybody else who's going to shell out that kind of money for the ticket prices that they're driving up now.
Yeah, I mean, like everybody says Brady bandwagon fans. Okay, like let's say you are a Brady bandwagon fan. Who are you going to be rooting for then? You're going to be rooting for the Bucks.
They're going to be wearing Buck stuff, if not a Brady Pats jersey, but you'll see a lot more Buck stuff there.
Yeah, like even if they're wearing a Brady, a Brady jersey, it's a Brady Bucks jersey. Even if they're wearing a Gronkowski jersey, it's Gronkowski Bucks jersey. It's like they're still like they're cheering on the Bucks now, and there's some people that literally have like said like, oh, I'm out. I'm not a Patriots fan no more. Week 4 when the Bucks play the Patriots, or was it? Yeah, I think it's week 4. That'll be, they'll be cheering for the Bucks.
That stadium's going to be cheering louder for Tom than they probably will whoever's under center for New England by week 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And speaking of which, about real quick to finish up our thing about our buddy Russ. Russ was I don't believe Rhett said this. Russ was a diehard Bucks fan, but also a huge Suns fan. And when the Lakers had beaten the Warriors to get in the play-in tournament, Russ was really excited to watch the Suns play the LeBron and the Lakers. And unfortunately, the night that the Lakers beat the Warriors and it was all set that they were going to play the play the Suns, Russ, tragically passed away in his sleep. So we're thinking about you, buddy. You're a diehard listener. We know that the support you've given us, you and your girlfriend have given us throughout the years, and rooting for the Suns on this one. So hopefully they can get it done for you. Nestor says, "What's going on? What I miss? You guys ready to take the season one game at a time?" Yeah, I mean, you always look at the big picture, but let's hope for minimal injuries. Everything else should fall into place. Yeah, injuries are always the thing you can't predict, right? If Tom Brady goes down for 10 weeks, the Bucs aren't doing nothing. I can guarantee it, because Kyle Trask or Blaine Gabbert or Ryan Griffin isn't coming in there and winning enough games to win the Super Bowl. If Tom Brady's out for the year, nobody can predict that, but the season's done then, and your season predictions are completely crap. Which, speaking of season predictions, we will be doing a scheduled prediction show where we go through each game in depth. It's normally like an hour and a half to 2 hours. It's a long show. We'll be doing that probably the end of this month, maybe early August. It'll be before the first preseason game, so be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, and exciting thing about this time of year, at least, when you're looking ahead, it is the last month on the calendar without NFL football for at least until February. So that's one thing to get excited about. And then the first preseason game is, I believe, 4 weeks from today, if not pretty damn close. So, folks, we are almost there. We've spent this entire offseason talking about what a long offseason it's going to be, and then eventually how it kind of felt shorter than usual. But here we are. The countdown is on. And as we know, just a couple of weeks away from training camp, that's when our coverage and podcasts are going to start picking up a little bit more. But it's just a good time of year. And, it's getting closer, and before we know it, it's really going to be here. But yeah, like Evan said, be on the lookout for that season prediction show. That's going to be going on. But between now and training camp, while we are on this podcast now, we've also been putting out some content over on our YouTube channel, a new series we started called Buried Bucks Treasure. It is myself and honorary third member of the show, James Hill, a.k.a. Mr. Bucks Nation. We are searching far and wide around Tampa Bay, looking for just old Bucks oddities, antiques, vintage memorabilia, clothes, cards, whatever it is, red and pewter or orange creamsicle under the sun. We're looking to find it, and it's a new channel we're having a lot of fun with. Episode 4 is going to be dropping tomorrow.
New episodes drop every Friday at 6 p.m.
Oh, yeah. Every single Friday at 6 p.m. right here on the channel. You can also check out James' channel at Mr. Bucks Nation. So aside from that, let's talk about some updates that have come out of One Buck since we last talked to you guys. Couple of things. The latest, rookie cornerback Cameron Kinley has been granted his request to play in the NFL for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin announced on Tuesday. He announced in a statement that he approved a plan by the Department of the Navy to enlist Kinley in the inactive ready reserve for the duration of his football career. This news coming after his request was initially denied to play in the NFL. This is pretty cool news. I mean, the story of Cameron Kinley, if you are not up to speed, Evan, if you want to kind of tell people about that, it really is a great story.
Yeah, so Kinley he played at Navy. He played at Navy. I'm so used to saying university. And he was a pretty good player there. And I believe he was team captain or one of the captains. And he was, everybody said great things about him. So he goes undrafted, and then he signs with the Bucks. And after having a little bit of time with the Bucks, the Navy had denied his request to get out of his basically almost like the contract that he signed when he joined the Navy. The Navy had denied that request, so therefore he wouldn't have been able to participate in any training camp or any type of sign any contract with the Bucks. He wouldn't have been able to. So he's a cornerback, and he actually looked pretty good in minicamp. If you want to follow his social media, I forget his exact handle, but just look up Cameron Kinley on Instagram. He posts like a lot of like motivational videos and like tips and stuff. He's a really good, awesome character guy.
Yeah, he's got his branding down pat.
Yeah, he really does. And he was honored with an award, I believe, a few months ago. So he's definitely the type of player, that you want in your locker room. Does he make the team? Who knows? But now he's finally being given that chance to. Luckily that they were able to overturn it. And yeah, it's a good story. And I'm excited to see how it pans out, because it's one of them stories that, like, there's always that one or two guys in training camp that you want to see make the team.
Oh yeah.
Now it will be difficult this year because the Bucks have, like you said, brought everybody back. Like even Ross Cockrell, who'll be, Ross Cockrell's put in for the fourth corner spot. There's not a lot of open spots, so it will be difficult for him to make the roster. But it's going to be fun to see him play in the preseason, and good luck to him. I'm glad that they were able to do this. Basically, the simple thing is Kinley was basically trying to just delay his entrance into the Navy, essentially, until his playing career was done. So, and the Navy wouldn't allow it, but now they have. So he is with the Bucks. He will be with the Bucks in training camp, and we'll see if he makes the roster. So David Cardona is back. He said, "Gentlemen, it's been a while. How was your guys' break? LOL, always good to see you guys here again. No news is sometimes good news for the Bucks these last 2 months." Yeah, I mean, there's been some drama, obviously, in the NFL with the whole Julio Jones thing, and there's still obviously the talks of Aaron Rodgers and stuff like that. The biggest Bucks thing is, who was Tom Brady talking about, right? That's been the biggest Bucks story, right? And when that's your biggest story, it's not too shabby. So
yeah, and it's funny too, because in New England, I'm sure that for the longest time, or at least throughout the offseason, they weren't used to Brady quotes on certain shows being, the top story to come out of the team that month. Tom Brady never would have let loose and referred to some other quarterback in the league as that mother effer. But I wanted to get your thoughts on that. So for anybody who's not caught up, let's talk about that, man. Brady appeared on a talk show for HBO. I forget the name of the show, but it's like a barbershop setting, and it's very casual, laid back. You've got so many different athletes on there. But Brady was talking about a team that kind of stiffed him towards the end of his free agency process, and a lot of people are trying to figure out what team that may be. There's a lot of context clues supporting different arguments. The two teams that came to mind for myself are either the Raiders or San Francisco. Some other people have mentioned some other teams, but as far as the whole situation plays out, it seemed like this team was ready to make a run at Brady, and then right at the end, they were just like, no, we're going to stick with our guy. And clearly, Brady took it personally and played all the way to the Super Bowl. And we know what happened after that. But what team do you think it was? Do you think it was Derek Carr? Do you think he was referring to Jimmy G, or possibly, well, I guess this was before Trey Lance was even there, but who do you think he was referring to as that mother effer?
Well, for one, let me just say that was hilarious, right? Like, with the clip, right? So basically, he says there was one team that was interested, and then right at the end, they pulled out.
Yeah.
And Brady is shown on the thing, and he goes, and I'm sitting there thinking, you're sticking with that mother effer.
And this is probably the most loose Tom Brady interview you could probably ever find.
Yeah.
I mean, the cuss words are flying, but it is quite the laid-back environment. Like, I thought the Howard Stern interview this time a year ago was loose, but you ain't seen nothing until you check this one out.
Yeah, and then he basically said, like, "Oh, you don't want me. I know what that means, so I'm gonna f you up because it's pretty good stuff from Tom." I'm here to throw in another team / another quarterback name. I think this was about Ryan Tannehill and the Tennessee Titans.
Really?
That's what I think. I think this was about Ryan Tannehill and the Tennessee Titans. The Titans went to the AFC Championship game the year before that year, but lost to the Chiefs because Derrick Henry couldn't do it all by himself.
Yeah.
Tom Brady and Mike Vrabel are very good friends. So if Tom Brady actually, now there is no confirmation that he said this to anybody. It's no confirmation that he actually said it, right? More just speaking like, "Oh, you're sticking with that," But if you were to say that, he's good friends with Mike Vrabel. Like, oh, you're sticking with that mother effer. Like,
Yeah.
you're sticking with that guy. I think it could be about Ryan Tannehill and the Tennessee Titans, and I really do. It was rumored that he was interested in Tennessee because of Vrabel. I know the obvious one is Jimmy G, and it very well could be. Like, I think it very well could be. But like I all the reports I heard is like Jimmy G and him, like they like each other, and I think
Right.
they have the same agent, so like that wouldn't be great. They have the same agent, so I think it is about the Tennessee Titans and Ryan Tannehill.
And a lot of people take the quote and they kind of take the second half of it where he mentions, oh, I see that, and I'm gonna go out here and F you up. And then you look at those hypothetical situations. The only two teams that were on the schedule that were being talked about were the Raiders, who the Bucs played in week 6, and Brady
7.
Absolutely had a field day. And then the Saints, because believe it or not, the Saints were also in that discussion. But I don't know if Tom Brady, knowing the respect that he has for Drew Brees,
he's not doing it.
Yeah, I mean he knew that arm was out, but he's obviously not going to talk about him like that. But I don't know, jury's still out. We're never going to find out what team it was. People can sit here and guess all day, but that's part of the fun of this time of year, right? David Cardona in the chat says, Brady has definitely been much more laid back when it comes to stuff like that now that he's joined Tampa. I feel like he has had much more flexibility with himself and his personality as a Buccaneer, and I'm all here for it, dude. Tampa Tom is able to talk his shit and back it up, because that's really what he's done. That's what he's done since he's been here, aside from the golf tournaments.
Right. I mean, well, he didn't play bad. I don't think he played bad on Tuesday. Aaron Rodgers is a pretty good golfer. Like, he was just putting ridiculous. Anyways, I think Tom Brady has been more laid back. I think Gronkowski has been a little bit, what's the word? Kind of little, not as loose.
Kind of like a business Gronk.
Yeah,
sponsorship Gronk.
Do you kind of get that vibe too? I think
a little
Brady's
bit.
A little bit more laid back, and Gronk's a little less. Maybe it's because he's older now. He has a girlfriend, stuff like that. But it just seems like he's just a little bit more laid,
Maybe because he knows. Maybe because he knows he's playing again. There's a certain level of PR management that you have to play, right? Like, he can be fun Gronk to a degree, but he wants to make sure that he CYA doesn't say something that's going to get him in trouble or cause any sort of ridiculous news stories like people like to do this time of year too. So honestly, I think it's just Gronk playing the game of being a pro athlete and trying to kind of, read what media guys are going to dig at you to get a question or a quote that they want to get. And I mean, any player coming from New England is definitely going to know how to play the media game. Tom Brady was great at it for a long time, basically saying more with less. And Gronk had some lessons in that too. So I think he's just playing the game. But let's talk about something else that is on my mind. Some developments.
Hang on.
Okay. All right.
Real quick. Because one more name was brought up in the chat by David. And I just want to say, I don't think it was the Chicago Bears. The Bears, it's Chicago. It's horrible weather, right? His two finalists were Tampa and Los Angeles. So, it's clear the weather was a factor. He just got done playing in New England, which is great weather. I don't think he was going to play for Chicago. Plus, Chicago didn't really have the weapons or their defense is good, but did he really view Chicago like that?
Right.
I don't think so. So I don't think it was Chicago.
Yeah, I kind of lean away from Chicago as well. Like I said, the two teams the Tannehill situation makes sense the more you think about it because of that Vrabel connection, but I still kind of think about the Raiders or even still maybe San Fran, because if he's describing Jimmy G like that and Jimmy G knows their boys, he knows at the end of the day he's just messing around. But let's talk about some more news coming out of One Buck that is very near and dear to my heart. A cause that we have supported here on the show before, a hill that I am ready to die on, and hopefully I get my way in just a little bit over a year from now. The NFL announced that they have officially changed the helmet rule starting in 2022. NFL teams will be able to change their helmet colors for alternate uniforms. I believe, I don't know the official rule, but basically you'll be able to have one alternate helmet color, right? Is that what I understand?
Yeah, it's not exactly a helmet color. It's one alternate helmet.
Right.
It's a different helmet. You're allowed to have. The rule was you're allowed that you have to carry one helmet the whole year. You have to carry one helmet, and that has to be your helmet. And the only way the Bucks still could have done a throwback game technically, but they would have had to paint their current helmets white, put all the decals on them, paint the face mask, everything, and then for one game, one day,
Repaint
and then they would
them
have to paint them back.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, so, and I mean, any team could have done that, but yes, now they're letting you do 2 helmets, which is a bummer that that's not going to be this year, because I felt pretty strongly that it was going to be this year. But hopefully, it'll be next year, and people will be able to see, you got Warren Sapp there with Allstott and Brady in the background. People will be able to see. Can you imagine that, dude? Like, imagine me telling you in 2012, like, yeah, this will be the last time the Bucks wear the creamsicles, because that was the last time they had the creamsicle
And they won't wear them again until 2022.
Well, wait. Well, they won't wear them again for another 10 years, and the quarterback will be Tom Brady.
Well,
the most recent quarterbacks to wear the creamsicles will be Josh Freeman, and the next one's Tom Brady.
Right, and then they'll be less than 2 years removed from a Super Bowl victory, maybe even 1 year removed if they go out there and repeat. But for the Tom Brady fans, the good thing about that happening in 2022, it sucks that you got to wait an extra year, but the Bucks already have a verbal commitment from Tom Brady to play for 2 more years. So this season coming up, and then, of course, the season after that. So I think it's pretty much a guarantee that you're going to see TB12 in the creamsicle at least once before he decides to hang up the cleats. And I'm pumped, dude. I've been looking for more and more creamsicle gear. I'm starting to rep it a little heavier. And I don't know why it gets so much hate. If you guys are in the chat, I want to know your 2 cents on the creamsicles. Are you excited about them coming back? Or are you... do you want them to stick with the pewter? Those things were like, when I was younger, I did not like them. I hated the color scheme. I didn't like the orange and white. And then as I got older, maybe it's just a refined taste, but something about it just screams Tampa. And I have fallen in love with them ever since I made the switch. And I'm so excited to see them, at least for one Sunday out of the year now.
Yeah, they're fine. As a throwback thing, they're fine. I think a lot of people on the Instagram, when I posted that the creamsicles were returning, a lot of people I think took that as the Bucks are changing back to the creamsicle.
Right. I don't know why people assume that's the case.
Yeah, that's not what we're saying. Okay, I don't even know. I don't even think anything's going to happen with the pewter jersey. I think the pewter jersey will still be able to be used. It's just once a year they'll wear the creamsicles, and yeah, it's cool. And I think a lot of your older Bucks fans, will be like, well, I associate that with 0-26, and all I do when you see that, all you think, and it's a valid point. When you see that, all you think of is losing. Yeah. It'll be basically like what Bucks fans look at, and they're reminded of with the alarm clock numbers. They'll be reminded of Lovie Smith and Jameis Winston and Roberto Aguayo and all the kickers and stuff like that. That's what you'll be reminded of. Oh, well, I see the creamsicle. All that reminds me of is how horrible they were for years and years and years while wearing those jerseys.
Because they're bright. They're hard to forget. So when you're so bad for so long in that look, naturally people are always going to associate it with losing. And it's a tough identity to break.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I look at those 2 jerseys you have right there, Sapp and Allstott, and the difference in those jerseys. I think the Bucks just hit a home run when they switched. When they switched from the creamsicle to the red.
Oh yeah.
I just think it's so much cleaner and stuff. And
it says Buccaneer a lot better than the creamsicle.
Yeah, it does. Maybe for an 80s look, the creamsicle wasn't bad, but modern day, yeah, if the Bucks are wearing those jerseys every single game, the modern day, yeah, I think people would be getting sick of them.
Yeah.
But it is nice to have it as just the throwback where you get one game. You haven't had it for 10 years. Just, it'll be exciting to see.
Oh yeah. As far as the public opinion goes, let's check in with the live chat. David Cardona says the creamsicles will always be a very fun throwback, mainly because it's so different than any other throwbacks. It's also a great reminder of the past and how far this organization has come. Rock813 says the creamsicle is not good. It's all about the pewter. Zeshawn says, I wish they could wear the creamsicles more often than just come 2022, not just a singular game. So he wants multiple home games. And I will say it would be pretty cool if you got like a creamsicle on the road game. I know people don't remember those white
they wear
jerseys.
the whites.
Yeah. I know people don't remember those as fondly as the orange jersey at home, but same color helmet. It would be kind of cool to see something like that on the road.
I think it would be neat to have have the Eagles in their Kelly green jerseys versus the Bucks in their green.
Yeah, that'd be great, dude. I think that's awesome branding and awesome TV, especially if you want to get some ratings up. Let's see here. Ben Leeper says the creamsicles are good, but they will still be only our 4th best uniforms. Rock813 says he never liked the creamsicle. Then he says he hated the orange and white. I like them. I like them as a throwback every now and again. And as far as like the away throwbacks go, I don't know if you saw the exception that the NFL is making for San Francisco this year, but they are bringing back some throwback uniforms from the 90s, and they're going to wear a kit on the road too. And, like, that's cool to me. You know what I mean? Setting up a game. Like, could you imagine, the one that I picture the most is obviously, like, the Packers is up there with the Buccaneers and the creamsicle. But I imagine the Falcons in their throwback with the throwback lids, and then you've got the Bucks and the creamsicle, right? Like, that's just badass to me. Just seeing those old school colors on the screen. Football used to be a lot brighter, it felt like, back in the day. Those uniforms used to pop just a little bit more.
Well,
obviously, Yeah, the color choices. I mean, look at the Oilers, the old Houston uniforms. Those possibly coming back for Tennessee.
I need the Titans to face the Bucks when they do. I think it's next year. I think it'll be next year, I think. And when they do, I need... Actually, no, I think it's the year after. I need the Bucks to wear their creamsicles, and then for the Titans to be the Oilers.
Oh, dude. Cool. With the rule happening, the NFL officially clearing the way for teams to have an alternate helmet.
What's stopping these teams from doing it?
Nothing.
Like
Nothing.
You can wear the same throwback jersey in a game. Like you can. The one team decides to wear a throwback, the other team decides to wear a throwback. There's nothing that's stopping it.
Yeah. No, I think that would be great marketing for the NFL if they wanted to do a throwback weekend and every team wears their throwback at the same time.
80s weekend,
right? Do the broadcast all up, kind of like the WWE. Whenever they have old school SmackDown or old school Raw, just do it up, man. Have Chris Myers up in the booth in like a yellow suit, just really matching the 80s.
We gotta get him on the show and get his thoughts on this.
Hell yeah, man! I need to get some other people's opinion. The NFL needs to reach out to me. I'm in between jobs right now, so I'm looking for a marketing position. I'll send my resume out, but NFL, give me a call, man. So. We've caught you up on some Buccaneer news. I wanted to talk about one more thing as far as, this Tampa Bay identity goes before we start to wrap things up here on the show. Jeremy Fowler and ESPN started their mission to rank players by position groups and form a top 10 list at each. To do so, they are using feedback from 50 people inside the league, and I got to tell you, man, the Buccaneers have already been very well represented. Normally, you see these top 10 lists come out this time of year, and the same old argument is, man, this guy's not getting enough respect. He should be on this list. Why isn't this guy on this list? Why is this guy above this guy?
Every fan of every team. Why is my guy?
Yeah, why is my guy not on this list? But for a lot of Bucs fans, for a lot of years, we've seen these lists and basically had to sweep them under the rug because they did not give these players the respect they deserve. I want to get your thoughts on some of these rankings, man, because a lot of them are surprising. Vita Vea was ranked the 9th best interior defensive line in the league, which I think is more than justifiable. He could probably be a few notches up higher on that list. But Vita Vea, what kind of impact do you think he makes as far as, comparing him to the rest of these D tackles across the league?
Well, I've not seen the list, so I don't know who 1 is. I don't even know who 8 is.
I can tell you number 1's probably Aaron Donald.
No, well, yeah, he's not better than Aaron Donald. So, 9's fair, and I think with a you got to remember, Vita Vea barely played last year.
Exactly, which is why it's surprising that he made the top 10.
Right. But the people that think, he should be higher, I don't know if he should be higher. I think 9 is completely fair. If he stays completely healthy and has another good year, I think if they do this list again next year, you could see him maybe in the top 5.
Yeah.
I think he could have that type of impact. But I do think Vita, it all depends on health, man. He hasn't, he started his career, he got hurt, he barely played in the preseason. Then he had a solid year. But then this year was having a really good year, very limited time, but then missed so many games and came back and really made an impact. But those games missed, man, you gotta play a full season healthy, and if he does, I think he'll be widely considered, probably a top 6 or 5 interior defensive lineman.
Now, a lot of Bucs fans are going to like this next ranking, but personally, I'm kind of surprised, and I can see why the argument against it is, holds some water. But Lavonte David and Devin White. Now, this is on Jeremy Fowler's list. He ranked Lavonte David the number 5 linebacker in the league, and Devin White is number 1 overall. Over Eric Kendricks, over Fred Warner, over Bobby Wagner. Devin White on Jeremy Fowler's list is the number 1 linebacker in the league. Now, Terrell Davis also put out a position rankings list. He does not have Devin White in his top 5, but he does have Lavonte David at number 2 behind Bobby Wagner. But Devin White at number 1. And Jeremy Fowler is not the only guy who's been saying this these past couple of weeks. Devin White starting to get some recognition by some of these guys as supposedly the best linebacker in the league. Evan, your thoughts?
I think he could be. Don't think he is now. I personally wouldn't have Devin White in my top 5. I would have Lavonte David in my top 5. I think Devin White's in my top 10 probably, but I wouldn't have him in my top 5. I'm surprised that he was 1. I think, like I said, by the end of this season, he could be 1. Who knows? I think he could be, but he's played 2 years. I think the Super Bowl win really helps. I really do. I think the Super Bowl win, he had an interception in the Super Bowl. He had an interception against Drew Brees in the playoffs. I think that helps his case for this ranking. I have a tough time saying that. I like Devin White. I have a tough time sitting there and saying he's the best linebacker.
And you know that I am a homer. A little bit
more
more
than I am.
A little bit more than the next guy, and definitely more than you. But on my list, I'm not putting Devin White above Lavonte David. Now, with that being said, I don't think it's too far of a reach to say that Lavonte David is the best linebacker in the NFL.
Yeah. That's not far of a reach.
But yeah, like I said, on my list, I'm not putting Devin White up there. He might be right outside the top 5 for me, but just not number 1 yet.
Yeah, I think to me, he'd be another guy that's in that 8-9 range for me.
And Ben Leeper also just chiming in the chat says, I actually don't mind Devin White at number 1 because I'm pretty sure the rankings were based on projections for next year. If he can replicate his play in the playoffs over a full season, he is definitely number 1.
Okay, I mean, if it is, that's fine. Like, if it is, that makes more sense. But yeah, if those lists were just basically saying who is now, I don't believe that Devin White's the best linebacker in football.
Well, and I got to tell you that obviously if he can replicate a full season of playing like he did in the playoffs, for sure, he's the best linebacker in the league. But it gets you really excited to think about where he could be next season and where he could get better. As far as production goes, I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that he has a better year than Lavonte David. But with Lavonte, we kind of know what to expect, right? We know the strengths of his game. We know the weaknesses, even though there's not that many of his game.
Yeah.
And we kind of know what to expect from him. If anything, some people may be expecting him to slow down a little bit as he starts to, hit these higher years in his career. But Devin White, entering his 3rd year in the NFL, it's hard to say anything, but he can only get better from here, right?
Yeah, and I'll come out and say something. I do think that at the end of 2021, the 2021-22 season, we are going to view Devin White as better than Lavonte David. I think just for the reasons you said. Lavonte David is probably going to be declining soon, where Devin White's going to be ascending. Like, that's just simple. And Lavonte David will still be a darn good football player, like a really good football player. Right? Like, just because I say he could be declining does not mean he's going to suck.
Yeah.
He's going to be really good. But I just think it's to me, it's not as much about Lavonte David declining as it is about, I think, Devin White's potential. It seems I had legitimate concern about Devin White, coming pre-draft and stuff, and drafting a Mike linebacker at 5 overall. But I couldn't deny his potential, and it seems like he's starting to live up to that potential. So if he keeps ascending this way, it's going to be a no-brainer that Devin White's the best linebacker on the Bucs roster.
Absolutely, man. Now, speaking of Buccaneers linebackers, as we kind of wrap up this show here, Derek Brooks, number 55, one of the greatest Buccaneers to ever do it, was ranked the number 100 best NFL player of all time by The Athletic. And now the reason that I'm, bringing up all of these different rankings and all of this is kind of circling back to the point that I made before we started talking about it. It seems like the Buccaneers are under the spotlight a little bit more than usual, and a lot of the players that we love to root for and we love to talk about week in and week out here on the show are finally getting the recognition they deserve. So I'm sure that as more of these lists start to come out from ESPN, Jeremy Fowler, and whoever the hell else is putting out top position lists, you're going to see some more Buccaneers well represented. And with a plethora of weapons on both sides of the ball, I'm sure we're going to see these guys talked about quite a bit over the next few weeks. But obviously, that comes with a Super Bowl title. And with Tampa Bay being in the spotlight right now, it's what we can expect. But, worth the wait for a lot of people who have been waiting a long time for Tampa to be in the spotlight and talked about like this on a national level.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing that kind of sucks, though, is that, like, Brooks is 100, so...
You really can't think there's going to be any other Buck.
No.
Yeah.
It's, Tom Brady will be considered a Patriot / Buck. Will Gronkowski be on there? Maybe. Like, Antonio Brown? Maybe. But, like, I don't... Like, other than that, like, Derek Brooks, like... you're not going to tell me that Rondé Barber or John Lynch, Warren Sapp. Maybe somebody thinks Warren Sapp is, but like that's like the only name. So like,
I wouldn't put Sapp above Brooks on my list.
I wouldn't either, but I'm just saying that maybe they do. And but I think that's the only other guy. I don't think you're going to see Rondé Barber. You're not going to see John Lynch. You're not going to see a lot of those guys. So Brooks at 100 is cool, but it's also like, okay, because that means you're not going to be seeing many Bucs players on this list.
Right here at the end of the show, $5 super chat towards the Wendy's Fun from our friend Bree D, who is chiming in with a big old Tampa Bay. Thank you so much for donating to the Wendy's Fun, Bree. We appreciate your support.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Coming from inside this here household.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, that's like grocery money.
Yeah, she's spending your money. Go right back to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think that's just about going to do it for this episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us in the live chat. Bree D, Rock813, Ben Leeper, David Cardona, Nestor Cervantes, and everybody else who stopped by and chatted with us. Tampa Bay rolls on, and we're very excited to be talking to you guys about it. Make sure you check out the show on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those are the best place to go to follow updates on the show, and of course, Buccaneer news as it happens. Speaking of Bucs news as it happens, you can check out my co-host on Instagram at Bucs_Daily, the #1 Buccaneers fan page on Instagram with a bunch of followers growing every single day between here and the start of the season. You can also follow myself on Instagram and Twitter at Rhettakus, RHETTAKUS. If you follow me, I will follow you back. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, we got plenty of great content. Check out that new series that I mentioned earlier in the show, Buried Bucs Treasure, with myself and James Hill. New episodes of that dropping every single Friday at 6 p.m. right here on the Cannon Fire Podcast YouTube channel. With that being said, we will talk to you guys relatively soon.
Sooner than the last one.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that. It'll be sooner than the last one.
That's for damn sure. Well, thank you guys so much for checking out this episode. I am your host, Rhett Matthew, signing off from my co-host, Evan Wanish. We will talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much for checking out this episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast, brought to you by your friends over at betonline.ag. We'll see you next time, and as always, go Bucs.